Now, I will never stand here and tell you to feel better.
Starmer got into an awkward situation again and showed his true, disgusting face. As always, he tried to pretend to be a decent person, creating the illusion that everything was fine. But this time his mask collapsed. This is just a disaster. You've never seen him so vile and pathetic. We start watching the first scene.
After all, we have 5 years and a big mandate. So working people will not accept any excuses. They want to see us build 1.5 million homes, make sure a record number of children start school ready to learn, raise living standards so there's more cash in their pockets, restore confidence that crime will be punished, guaranteed neighbourhood policing in every community, make sure our energy system is more secure by harnessing clean British energy, accelerating towards net zero. And on our NHS, they want us to cut waiting times dramatically to meet the 18-week target that is still the best benchmark of an NHS that's back on its feet, facing the future, and once more, a beacon of pride to the world.
The Labour Party wanted to ensure that the 1.5 million new homes it was going to build were low carbon. Otherwise, it risks causing even more damage to an already fragile environment, which is simply unacceptable. The construction of new houses is extremely important, but they will not be able to change people's lives for the better if they are poorly insulated, poorly built houses. The Labour Party has still not answered the most important question: will the new houses be equipped with solar panels, heat pumps and high-quality insulation? Will they be connected to the gas network? Their plans include the development of areas that are now considered green zones, but in fact most of the existing green zones are actually grey zones that have already suffered from various types of development in the past, or are located next to transport infrastructure.
But every decision that we have made, every decision that we will make in the future, will be made with working people in our mind's eye. People who've been working harder and harder for years just to stand still. People doing the right thing, maybe still finding a little bit of money to put away, paying their way, even in the cost of living crisis, but who feel that this country no longer gives them or their children a fair chance. People stuck on an NHS waiting list, whose town centre is blighted by antisocial behaviour, who can't afford to buy a place that they can call home, or can't afford the home they have because of the mortgage bombshell.
Starmer pretends to be actively fighting the catastrophic problem of low housing construction in the UK. Labour is promising a real revolution, planning to build 1.5 million new homes by 2029. He is going to lift planning restrictions in England to give a boost to the private sector. But since 1977, more than 300,000 houses have not been built in the country per year. This is the average annual figure Starmer strives for, while about half of them were built by municipalities. Last year, only 190,000 houses were built, and only 3/4 of them were in the private sector. But alas, Starmer only utters empty words. Words do not create housing. To really revive the construction, he will need enormous financial resources and the transfer of powers to Westminster. Since 1977, 25 housing ministers have been replaced in the UK, and the last 10 of them have served in their posts for less than 9 months on average. This is simply absurd. We deserve real action, not inaction and empty promises.
I said on the steps of Downing Street, the day after the election, that this would be a government for the working people of this country. That when the cameras stopped rolling, when that black door closed, we would carry their hopes and aspirations with us. That the basic, completely reasonable desire to want a better future for your family would become the driving purpose of this government. Now, I will never stand here and tell you to feel better.
We all remember how he betrayed us, contemptuously declaring that some of us could not be considered working people. This is simply outrageous. Many people are mistaken in thinking that being a landlord is an easy, passive job that makes money without much effort. But in fact, it requires tremendous work, time and the ability to constantly adapt, especially when you combine it with your main job. This is just a manifestation of ignorance and stupidity. Real estate is a people-oriented business. and interacting with others is the key to success and continuous development. If it doesn't count as work, then I just don't understand what can be considered work at all.
And look, nobody wants higher taxes, just like nobody wants public spending cuts. But we have to be realistic about where we are as a country. This is not 1997, when the economy was decent, but public services were on their knees. And it's not 2010, where public services were strong, but the public finances were weak. We have to deal with both sides of that coin. These are unprecedented circumstances. But the budget the Chancellor will deliver on Wednesday will prevent devastating austerity in our public services.
Starmer has repeatedly stated that he will protect working people from tax increases. So why does our Prime Minister, who usually hides behind a veil of secrecy, suddenly decide to make a big speech just a few days before the budget announcement which he cannot tell us about? He is clearly annoyed and even scared by the accusations that he is reneging on his election promises to protect workers. In fact, he is just preparing the ground for the coming changes that may befall us. A shocking tax increase of a whopping £35 billion is planned in the new budget. Inheritance and capital gains taxes will rise, as will the social security tax paid by employers. Currently, pensions are not considered part of your estate after death, which is exempt from inheritance tax. But now some are suggesting that Labour may change this rule, and it could turn into a real disaster for grieving families.
That purpose also runs through the priorities we set out in our manifesto. The national missions, which capture the hope working people have for the future of our country. And look, there's a paradox in politics at the moment. All around the world, traditional values, democratic values, values that have underpinned the way countries like ours have operated for years, the pragmatism that is part of our identity, it's under attack. Why? Because people, working people most of all, have lost faith it can still deliver for their family.
The manifesto of the Labour Party states with full clarity, we guarantee the lowest possible taxes for working people. They assure us that the union will not raise taxes for workers, and therefore they are not going to increase taxes on social insurance, basic, increased or additional income tax and VAT rates. But here's the paradox, an increase in income tax for employers directly contradicts Labour's election programme. Ministers with a grin claim that working people will not notice any changes due to the increase in taxes in the budget for VAT, social insurance and income tax. But that's just a lie. The Labour Party is deceiving us by hiding their true intentions. This is not just a misunderstanding, it is the most vile form of fraud that can destroy people's lives. We can't let them manipulate us and play with our destinies.
People like that video that we've just watched, the people we changed the Labour Party to serve. I know some people want to have a debate about this, and I know there will always be the exception that proves the rule. Welcome to the wonders of a diverse country. But I also know that the working people of this country know exactly who they are, and that they are the golden thread that runs through our agenda. Every single one of our national missions is about delivering for them. And we're getting on with the job.
Starmer became the first Prime Minister whose ratings have collapsed at such a terrifying rate since he came to power in early July. No one has shown such sad results. For comparison, Tony Blair reached 46 points in 1997 in 3 months in office, and David Cameron, who was in power from 2010 to 2016, did not even know what a sharp drop was. This catastrophic decline is due to the cancellation of fuel payments, early release of convicts and scandalous gifts that shock society. And despite all these scandals, he behaves aggressively and disdainfully towards the people. People with disabilities have long lived in fear that a Labour government would treat them no better than the Conservatives. And what do we see? Starmer's team has done nothing to allay these fears. Rachel Reeves plans to cut sick pay to help people get back to work. This is simply outrageous. His deception must not go unpunished. We can't let them keep treating us like this. What do you think about this video? Share your thoughts in the comments. See you in next video.